As a prologue, the main text now, I want to say a bit about an epilogue, the mission to Mars. Here it is, the Earth in its orbit, trying to go to Mars, which goes more slowly. So you catch up with it, because you're going more quickly, because you're closer to the sun. Mars goes more slowly, so a year is much longer on Mars. So here it is, you're getting closer and closer and closer, and finally, after 160 days in this particular case of the flight of Mariner, you arrive 160 hours later, 160 days later, you arrive at Mars. Well, that's great. What do you do with it? If you have a crew on board, well, same thing. Here is the Earth departure. This was calculated in 2014 and arrives in 2016. Sorry, where is it now? From here to here, it arrives in about 160 or whatever the number is, that many days, 160 days. So it's possible to have a crewed mission with people sitting in a capsule and arriving here. But can you get them back? Or is this a suicide mission? The only way you can come back is to wait for the moon, wait on, sorry, not the moon, but Mars. You wait on the surface for 569 days before you can reach a point from where you can come down to Earth. There's no other way of doing it. In more detail, outboard 150 days. This is for a particular mission, okay? You have to stay 619 days and return in 110 days. Here's another one, possible mission times, you can calculate it, but you still have to wait for that long. So the total is 919 days. That's about 2.5 years before you can come back to Earth. The way that this was explained to me by one of the visiting astronauts last September was because I came to heckle in his lecture where he was describing how he was going to do it. And I said, this is suicide. He said, oh no, NASA wouldn't contemplate sending people on suicide missions. Well, maybe they won't, but the Chinese will for sure. They have to send 2 supply missions, years apart, to put a depot, each of them, of enough food, enough water, and enough oxygen for people to survive 2.5 days. I don't believe it. They're planning to do it in 2024 or 26, whenever it is, and I don't believe it. I think this is a suicide mission, and unless they change their minds or explain to Donald Trump what I just explained to you, NASA won't be able to do this. So what's the answer? Now, please don't think that I'm talking against space exploration, because it's a fantastic adventure for mankind to see these things done, but only with uncrewed missions. As far as Mars is concerned, there was the thing that was launched, I think, in 2004, and had this vehicle on it, the rover, stayed on for 14 years, sent back all kinds of data. It went all over the place and explored the geology of Mars, the stratigraphy, the different strata inside a crater. You can see the different places. It went all over the place, and maybe they'll have even better, even more elaborate things to send to Mars, but without a crew. There's no way, in my opinion, that this can be done with a crew on board. But suppose they can. Suppose by some miracle they'll organize 2.5 years worth of stuff that people can survive. I mean, they've been up there in the International Space Station for, 6 months towards going for a year. Nothing's been gone for 2.5 years yet, but still. There are other ways of doing business without a crew on board. One of the most exciting ones is the next one that's being planned, and that's a mission to Titan. Titan is a satellite of Saturn. It has an atmosphere. You can use parachutes because there's an atmosphere. The atmosphere is not what we have here, but it's methane, which is a gas which is not yet frozen at this temperature. It's got rivers, it's got lakes, it's got all sorts of terrain, all made from liquid methane, an atmosphere of gaseous methane and rivers and lakes of... It's fascinating. Let's see what they find here. It's going to be launched, I think, in 2024, and I think it will get there in 2036, or maybe... Well, it doesn't have to return. It has no people on it. And so the mission will arrive on Titan and send us pictures and data and whatnot. And that's about as far as you can go outside the solar system and land on things. Conversely, you can go inside and go towards Venus, which is very hot. No way can you send people there, but you can for a short while before it melts, send back interesting data on the surface of Venus, and so on. So yes, I'm fully in favor of the science that is possible by sending uncrewed, unmanned objects as far as you can, and there's still an exciting future for mankind to explore. They're going back to the moon. Yes, it is possible. They're sending people there. Again, I think in 2024 they'll launch Project Artemis. I don't know what they can do on the moon when they get there that we can't do with clever unmanned missions. They want to go towards the poles of the moon to see if they find some frozen water, which is hypothesized that will exist there. Again, it can be done without sending people there. Sending people beyond the moon is certainly, in my opinion, suicidal. So that's my view of the thing. There are lots of people who will disagree with me, and there are in particular uninformed people who think that by dirtying up the earth, there is Earth B somewhere to be found, like Mars, and you cultivate it and plant radishes and so forth. Pure nonsense. That much is not possible. Don't pin your hopes that we dirty up our Earth, that we'll find somewhere else to go. There's nowhere else to go. So that's my story. I'm sorry if I offended people who strongly believe that it's wonderful to go and send men and women to some of these places. Maybe go back to the moon and maybe take a woman with you just to show that it can be done. But otherwise, stay on Earth and look after it.